Hi, I'm Stacy Livingston, and I'm the founder of Midland AF and the Midland Art Crawl, and I'm excited to be on the Catwalk podcast.
The Catwalk is proud to partner with Second Story Co-working in downtown Midland. With shared Wi-Fi and free coffee refills, Second Story can help connect you with like-minded business leaders. Visit today at secondstory.co. There is a powerful story behind every brand. Our mission is to make storytelling easier so you can grow your business. Connect with us today at thecatwalkmediagroup.com. Follow the Catwalk on all your favorite social media platform apps. Watch new content on YouTube or listen in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Music, and now today on iHeartRadio. We're so excited that you are joining with us today. I'm your host, Jay Whitlow, across the way. I'm joined always by my good friend Chris on the controls, and today inside the Second Story studio, welcome Stacy Livingston. What's up, Stacy?
Not a lot. Happy to be here.
Welcome to the Catwalk.
Thanks for having me.
I am dressed for fall. You seem to be dressed for summer.
Partially.
Right? It's kind of hot outside. I know
it's a confusing time.
You're a fall person,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I noticed that on both of our social media platforms, you posted something very similar I did, a big leaf a while back, and said, I wish that Texas had falls. And I remember when I was in England, I posted a picture of me kind of waltzing through a bunch of leaves and was like, I'm grateful to be in a place that actually has October.
Yeah.
So you're a traveler.
Yes.
You love the fall, right?
Yes.
That's kind of your thing.
Well, it is. Yeah, it's the best one.
So let's talk a little bit about your travel.
Well, travel is a little less now that I have 3 children, but I did spend 10 years working for a Belgian company that did European compliance, and so spent a lot of time there, at least a few weeks a year, and just traveling around to different shows that we were a part of in being exhibitors or speaking. So, yeah.
So you were in Belgium.
Yes.
Is that the only place you've been?
No, we would go to Bologna once a year for a cosmetic convention. We would go to Germany once a year for a medical device convention. We've gone to Dubai, all over the United States. So I was the U.S. marketing and sales manager to start, and then the U.S. branch manager. So I was responsible for all of the business development and got marketing and determining where we were going to go and setting up tours with our different clients or potential clients in the U.S., and then would also serve as kind of an expert for any of our international shows that we were a part of.
Okay, wow. Now, you've been to Brussels, right?
Yes.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, that's where we're based.
I saw that picture. So let's talk travel hacks,
Okay.
because I've been to Frankfurt,
Okay.
Madrid, Spain, Paris, Africa, the CAR. London is my favorite place to go travel, anything in the northeast of England. So a couple travel hacks, because you've done international travel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you eat the meal that's served on the overnight international travel?
Well, yeah, because it's perceptually free. So, anything that's free always tastes better.
I will not eat that.
No?
I will not eat it.
What will you eat?
Not anything that comes in a little, prepackaged thing on a plane. I don't know how long it's been sitting there.
So you make a meal before, or?
Yeah, I bring, when I went to Africa, I brought my own Ritz crackers and peanut butter.
Okay.
Because I knew I wasn't going to eat the spicy stuff over in Africa or whatever was in Africa. And so I did the same thing on the plane. But I will drink the Cokes and eat the crackers and all that, but I won't eat the prepackaged meals.
Regardless of where you're flying and who you're flying with,
Doesn't matter. Do you sleep on planes?
you have to.
Yeah? Do you watch movies on planes?
I think that sometimes some of my best work and thought work is done on planes because you're away from everything and you're above. So if I choose to write, then I usually come up with some pretty interesting thoughts that I might not otherwise. Read, listen to music.
Read.
And I usually listen to music while I sleep or try to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just cannot fall asleep on planes. And I remember international travel. I love catching up on movies that I don't normally get to watch, especially when I had kids. It was like, oh, I've never got to see this one, right?
I
Okay.
think you still have kids, right?
Yeah, but we're empty nesting now, so yeah. So I didn't sell them or get rid of them or anything. It's great point. Good catch there. Now you've taken trains.
Yes.
I'm assuming across country
Yep.
and stuff like that. Do you ride facing forward or backwards on the train?
I don't care. I mean, after so I
Don't
did.
get car sick or anything like
No.
backwards?
No, I had a 3-month internship when I initially went there, and that's how I ended up getting this job. And a month after I finished my internship, I had a Eurail pass and went all over Europe and always trying to feel like a local. So would try to go to, we could have gone to Rome, but it was June and it seemed like a terrible time to be in some of the most popular cities. And so we tried to stay in some cities that were less traveled, I guess. And that's kind of always been something that I love is what's it like to be a local and dine at the cafe like 3 blocks over from the most famous place in town instead of where every tourist has ever been.
Right. So you don't play the touristy game.
Not so much.
Right. What's the best coffee shop you've ever been at in your international travels?
When I started working for the Belgian company, a lot changed in the coffee culture because I had gone into this cafe thinking I just wanted to get something and feel like home, and I had tried to order a latte, and they told me, I'm sorry, we don't do that. And by the end, there was a Starbucks in the Grand Place, so that was kind of depressing in one way because it's like the heart of what people go to see as a tourist in Brussels. And then you could get anything that any American could. So I would say the Netherlands probably had the best coffee experience.
The Netherlands?
Yeah.
In Germany, did you ever get on the Autobahn?
No, yes. I don't know. We drove there, so I'm assuming we did. I was never driving myself, so it was usually my bosses that I would drive with, and they would ask me questions about President Obama.
Okay, so that time framed it right there with President Obama.
I also found out that Trump became president when I landed in Brussels, and the taxi driver said, "Do you know what they just said?" Because it was in French, but.
Do you know what they just said?
Yeah.
Now, this may sound like a dumb question, but are Sprouts from Brussels?
Like Brussels sprouts?
Yes. Are they? Is that where they originated from?
I mean, they eat them, but I don't think they're bragging about it.
Did you ever eat the schnitzels?
Well, yeah. I went to Germany like once a year.
How can you do that? I can't eat.
That's pretty much all my boss would eat was a schnitzel.
Really?
Every single place we went.
All right. Would you go back if you could?
Yes. Yeah. I took my son when he was 3 months old and then 5 months old. So I continued working for that company for a period of time. So he had a very cute passport that's now expired. But it was very hard unless I was going to be able to take grandma or somebody with me all the time, which I did do that twice. So my mom was able to come and my husband's mom was able to come and have that experience. And they also owned rental properties. So I was able to stay in a comfortable apartment and have that experience, but made a choice at some point. So.
Well, I know you've got your hands in a lot of different things in our community, and I appreciate that and love what you guys are doing. So I want to talk about some of those. But first off, our viewers, listeners may not know a whole lot about you, so let's kind of catch everybody up on who Stacy is. Walk me through maybe where you're from. Tell me about your childhood, high school, stuff like that.
Okay. I'm from Morrison, Colorado. You would best know that for Red Rocks Amphitheater. So I'm from the city part of Morrison or unincorporated Jefferson County. But we had like our graduation ceremony at Red Rocks, and that was very centered to also doing like conditioning for sports and things like that. Lived in the same house for the entire 18 years that I was there, which for me was not that exciting because I would meet people who came from all these different places and think, gosh, I wish I'd lived in Atlanta. I wish I'd come from some other place. The youngest of 4 children, and I was very active as a child in lots of things. I've always had very eclectic friend groups, was a competitive gymnast, did swimming, diving, cheerleading. We went to nationals twice for cheerleading, and that was not something I wanted to do. That's not really my attitude, but because I was a gymnast, they wanted me to come do that. And then fell in love with track and field, also because of gymnastics. I had a friend who started doing pole vault, and that's an easy transition for a gymnast to do, so that's the only reason I wanted to join, and they talked me into doing all of the jumps, so triple, long, high, pole vault, sprints, and hurdles were what I did, and then ended up getting recruited to be a heptathlete for a college in Orem, Utah. hadn't planned on going to college because I wanted to be an actress most of my life. And my dad told
We're
me...
going to come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to come back to that.
My dad told me I needed a backup and that I had a scholarship that I couldn't ignore, free money. And I had actually put in all of my paperwork to go to the University of Colorado at Boulder. And in July, I went to Orem to see if I could live there. And they had a Starbucks and a Jamba Juice and a Target. And so I thought,
Set.
okay, yeah.
You're
So,
set.
yeah. So then I lived in Orem for 2 years, had the scholarship, ended up moving to University of Utah because I thought it would have better opportunities for internships and just a broader demographic. And studied marketing and psychology, so ended up getting a double bachelor's in those two things. Got the internship in Belgium because I paid attention one day and they told us to sign up for career services, and I'm pretty sure it's the only email I ever got, and I thought, they speak French there, right? And so I had submitted to that internship, interviewed. I think I didn't initially get the internship, but someone dropped out, so I was able to go. And that was my junior year. And then I was there about a month, and they decided to create a position for me as their foreign relations ambassador, which basically meant that 1 month a year, or 1 week a year, I sat in a room for 10 hours a day interviewing people from the different schools that they hired from, and would make recommendations for hires. And those people would go and serve their 3-month internship. And then also the U.S. marketing and sales position, they kind of just made up to keep me with them. So, yeah.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, there's a lot there to unpack.
Okay.
So let's start with you liked Starbucks, Target, and Jamba Juice.
Yeah, I just needed to make sure
That's a
that my
trifecta.
life was going to be all right.
Was it all right?
Yeah, no, it was great.
'Cause that's a great trifecta right there.
No, I will say that I had a problem. I don't remember this nearly as vividly as my mom, but apparently I called her, and I'm not a crier, but I called her crying on Sunday because no one would go shopping with me, because it is a very densely LDS community, and they are not supposed to shop on Sundays.
So do we have a shopping addiction or
No,
problem?
really, I'm a terrible shopper, but,
But
when
you
you're...
just needed to go.
Well, I'd lived in the same city, the same house my whole life, and while I can make friends with most people,
Right.
or have, I think, now made a job of finding roots, that was something, you can go to Target and get what you need and feel at home no matter where you are. So,
And Red Rocks is where you're from, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
yeah.
Did you see anybody there? You ever been in any concerts there?
Yeah, I think the last I went to was Portugal the Man.
Nice.
My sister, who is 11 years older than me, brought me to Rave on the Rocks when I was very young. I'm not sure why she wanted me to
You
go.
remember
but
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Who's the most famous person you've ever seen there?
Mariah Carey, probably.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. You wanted to be an actress. I think I
Yes.
heard that in there,
Yep.
and I said we're going to circle back to that. And I believe you said your dad was like, you need a fallback plan.
Yes.
Had he seen you act before?
Well,
What made him say that?
so, I mean, because it's uncertain, which is true of any career. I mean, I think I see at this point, in Colorado, there were opportunities to do theater acting, but it didn't really seem like any theater anyone cared about. And so I think that I had the perception I had to go somewhere else in order to try and make a film career work or to even see it. So just taking a year or two off. And I was scholastic. I was a high achieving student, I would say. I was over committed to a lot of things, as I still am. But it just didn't seem like an opportunity that I had in Colorado. And I think that he just was afraid for me to take a impractical route in his mind that, I think he knew one person who was in that industry.
Successful
and,
at that, yeah.
So
Favorite actress?
probably Jennifer Lawrence, just because as a person and as an actress, that she's like very talented but down to earth.
Okay. You were in gymnastics.
Yep.
Did you do floor? Did you do?
My favorites
Vault, what-
were vault and bars, but you do all of them.
Can you still do those today?
I shouldn't, but
You shouldn't.
I do not do
funny.
vault. Actually, vault changed because it used to be like more like a
Yeah.
horse, and now it's more like a tongue.
Right.
So that changed like right after I left, probably the year after I left. So I've never done that vault. And then bars, I don't really have the opportunity to do it often. So
Were you good?
So I started in 5th grade, which is very late, and I'm
Yeah.
5'9", so I was also very tall.
Right.
So I have very strong abs from at that time. And so I was behind, but I started at level 5 as a competitive gymnast, which, usually you're starting from a lower level, and then had gone into high school and just decided I would do high school gymnastics. There was a lot of, not controversy, but just whether or not your competitive gymnastics coach would stand behind you for a scholarship. And I didn't really know what that looked like because no one in my family had gone to college until my oldest sister. So I didn't know that you could get a scholarship for sports or anything else for that matter. And so I just decided to do high school gymnastics, and I did that until the end of my junior year, and decided I didn't want to do it the final year and prioritize some other sports. So.
Well, I think we both missed out on the whole NIL thing because I played high school sports. You were in high school sports, and NIL was not a thing back then. And now these athletes are making millions of dollars.
I don't know what NIL is.
It's name, image, and likeness.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could go to college as a freshman football player and already be making $1 million from all the endorsements and stuff.
Right.
I'm like, what? Where was that when we were in school? Right. How did you end up Midland?
My husband, who I went to high school with, actually. We didn't date when we were in high school, but we met when we were 15, I believe. He went to Colorado School of Mines. I went to Utah Valley. We somehow became friends while we were apart, actually, because I had a bunch of guy friends there, and I needed a longboard, and he made them in his garage in high school.
Really?
So I called him to see if he could get me a longboard, and that's kind of how we reconnected. And then was not a straight line. We just kind of stayed in touch, dated, broke up, got back together. He was living in Spain for an internal master's with Repsol. When we finally decided to get together, and we knew he would be moving to the Woodlands for their U.S. Headquarters. And so we moved to the Woodlands. We're there for 9 years, and then he had an opportunity with Anadarko and had been rotating for the first 6 months of my first child's life to Midland. And so he said, "Do you think you want to move?" And I get bored and need to start something new. So we went and visited Midland in January, which not ideal. Because
Right.
there's not a lot of green, but that's true of
Is
anywhere.
there an ideal time to visit Midland, though?
Yeah. No, I think fall's nice, spring's nice, summer on the right day.
Summer on the right day.
Yeah. And then, so I had seen that I didn't know what my life would look like, which I got pretty good at doing after a while because I moved to Montreal. I've moved to Belgium. I've moved several places. And thought, okay, let's do this. But I'd asked in a girls' networking group in the Woodlands, what do you guys think about Midland? Surely you've been there, visited, are from there. And it was a thread of like 100 comments of all negative things to say,
Probably, yeah.
which, didn't deter me. It just made me think people aren't very resourceful, or they are looking at other people's opinions and just perpetuating them. So I saw it as a challenge to make the best and find out what it really was, since there wasn't a lot of information on the internet.
Well, you are an entrepreneur, and I admire all of the things that you're involved in. I know we've had several conversations here at Second Story just about different things that you're involved in. So I want to jump into some of those projects that you're in. Let's walk through Midland AF.
Okay.
Right? What does AF stand for? Because I've heard two different things, and this is kind of a family show. So walk me through Midland AF. What is it? What does it stand for? How'd you get involved?
So I have a friend who lives in the Woodlands, and she was coming out here regularly for her HR job with a chemical company. And she didn't love Midland, but she had a few things that she liked. And I was living in an apartment at the time with corporate housing while we were closing on a house, and there was like a rooster that lived next door, and I'd posted about it, and she goes, "That's so Midland." And I couldn't unthink that way that people wrap their mind around what Midland is. And I thought, yeah, it is. And so Midland AF is really more about a point of pride, like that's so Midland. It's an expression that lots of people are probably familiar with, and it's what we want to stand for is community and taking pride in Midland. So that's really where that originated from. And Our slogan is always fun, always local.
Always fun, always local. Okay, I like that. Okay. How does someone get involved in being in that partnership?
Well, so there's a number of ways depending on whether you're a local business or you are someone who's interested in creating content or writing. With what we have going on now, we're focused on more holistic partnerships in which they're annual, and we have ways that we're able to partner more than just on a sponsored post. That's typically what people seek out. Having a media kit and this digital world that we've kind of created, I think is something people are coming around to in Midland, but is unusual for them. Like if you lived in Austin and someone's interested in getting exposure, they would know to ask for your media kit. So we do sponsored posts. We do featured events in our newsletter. We have, I think, 6,600 newsletter subscribers where primarily at this point we're just sending out weekly things that you can do this weekend. We have our website partnerships, which will launch soon, which is pillar specific. So if you have a restaurant, bar, coffee shop, you would be a semi-exclusive partnership on our eat and drink page. If you have things to do in town, so you are doing putt-putt or rock climbing or something like that, you would probably want to have placement on our things to do page. We have minimum of 10,000 people per month who go to our website, and we have about a 30 to 40% open rate on our newsletter. So we have a number of ways to get involved just depending on what your business type is. So if you were an oil and gas company looking for exposure, probably looking at like a newsletter sponsorship or event partnership would be something that would be a good fit for that type of entity.
Okay. Interesting. So it is different than like a chamber type program where you just kind of list your stuff and there's not really any benefit to being listed. What you're saying is there's a huge benefit into being a part of something like Midland AF. So I applaud you on that. I think that's great. I think Midland needs that and needs that to be a focus point. So thank you for doing that. Tell me a little bit about the art crawl. I know that you just had one, and I think it was a huge success. Tell me about what is an art crawl and what did you guys just do?
So the art crawl kind of stemmed out of a lot of cities have like a First Fridays or a First Thursdays or whatever it is that is a community-wide activation of different art entities. Obviously, we don't have a cultural district in which there's going to be just a bunch of galleries all together. So by virtue of that, we can't really do a walk, and a crawl is not necessarily an accurate representation, but we're looking at basically creating a quarterly experience where we partner with local businesses. We have a membership base which has an online community where you can find our artists in our directory, have an idea of the type of art that they produce, whether they're doing commissioned work, and then having this quarterly event where you can experience that and also have this novel experience at each of the venues that's participating as a local business.
So you don't necessarily have to be like a person who does art to be a part of the crawl.
Right.
Because you're basically just community, getting involved. You're going different places. I'm assuming you're traveling around to location. How successful was it this year?
Well, we took a 6-month break because initially the Midland Art Crawl had begun as a program of Midland AF with the foresight that it would need to become or want to be its own standalone entity at some point. Obviously, in the nonprofit space, you're able to get grants and additional funding, as well as to have collaboration with other like-minded people, which I guess you can do with a for-profit as well. And so we had split off, and because I am doing a lot of different things on top of Midland AF and the Art Crawl, decided to kind of take a beat and to re-strategize. And then also I had to separate the systems because I'm a very systems-oriented person. We had our Midland AF systems, and Art Crawl had to be removed from that and recreate some of that workflow. And so, we took 6 months off and moved to Thursdays instead of Fridays, allowing us to kind of capture those visitors that might be in town for work that are gone by Friday, as well as not to have to compete with the holidays. So if it's Memorial Day, lots of people are leaving Friday morning and they might not be able to be there for that day. So that was part of the reason, but then also to decide what what's really the broader vision. So the art crawl, as it stands now, is a quarterly crawl. We want to build out additional programming as well as to move into different types of art. So we have a lot of representation for visual arts. So if you paint or you do photography or you make ceramics, like there's lots of opportunities between Arts Council of Midland, the Palette Club. Odessa Arts is doing lots of things to expand the cultural awareness. But we want to expand into film and cuisine and those other arts that maybe are not taken for granted but aren't celebrated as easily and aren't as easy to make. Obviously, a film takes a large group of people to do that. One of the projects that we're focused on is bringing a film festival to Midland in 2026. We've been talking to Odessa Arts about partnering on that and growing that into something that's not just a city-wide effort. So we're figuring out what the mechanics of that looks like and sponsorship for that to make that happen and to bring in visitors from all over. So we also want to contribute to the economic diversification and bring cultural tourism to Midland where people might not otherwise think to come here.
I love that because I've always heard, there's nothing to do here, so people want to leave. And I've seen that shift a little bit where people are staying. There's been different things. I know here at Second Story, there's been some stuff, your art crawl, some other events around the community. Because it also seems like people want to get out of town Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, and not come back till Monday. So I think that was a good shift for you guys, and also some things that can happen on the weekends to draw people here. You did say you were a systems person. I caught that. So what's your leadership style? I'm sure you have a team, you have people that you work with. What would you say is your leadership style?
Okay, so ironically, I'm part of Leadership Midland, which is a program here that's run by the Chamber of Commerce. I'm in the second year of that, and this year is now called LEAD. So we have more hands-on leadership training, and last month we just did a What's Your Leadership Voice? And it's, you can be a nurturer, a medic, or guardian. I'm not those. So
Which one are you?
My leadership style falls largely in the pioneer and creative standpoint. So there are some drawbacks to that in that you don't celebrate your wins. It's kind of like, okay, what's next? But that you're also sure that anything's possible, as well as looking out for the social consciousness of whatever you're trying to achieve, and innovating and thinking outside the box. So that leadership style does not necessarily work for everyone. I would say that I expect my team to be cross-functional and to be able to contribute to anything that we're working on, which can be a challenge for some people who just want to do the job, to do their job title, and contributing more largely is not something they care to do. And I do expect them to take initiative and to speak up. So I will do my best to check in, but we do have a lot going on. So I expect that, my door's open. So come in, you have an issue, let's fix it. You have too much on your plate, then let me know. But yeah, they have to be self-sufficient and be able to contribute in a broad way.
I appreciate that. I like to be around people who are self-starters, who are like to go and not, I need you to tell me the 10 things that I need to do and tell it to me 5 times, right? I trust you to do what I've hired you or partnered with you to do. I think that's brilliant. What would you say, what would your advice be to a new entrepreneur or somebody who's thinking about getting into wanting to start their own business? What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
I would say there's the things that I have been terrible at, which is seeking a mentor, of which I'm blessed to have many. It's just a matter of taking them up on their offer, because I don't want to, take people's time. Time is precious, but I've had a lot of people who have offered, and I haven't necessarily taken advantage of that. At this point now, I have a much more structured mentorship situation, and I think that that's critical, as well as meeting like-minded people who share struggles, surrounding yourself with people who support you. So, the art crawl, largely it was my friends and family who were volunteering to be venue coordinators, because I wanted to make sure that there was someone on site who could help control the experience that people were having. Pretty much any of my businesses have some heart for hospitality and making sure that there is an experience that's to be had. And so I think that making sure your friends are willing to, it's not like I qualify my friends that way, but you know who is there to support you or not.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, having accountability as well as like keeping track of what you told yourself you would do. Because I think that's the hardest thing. It's easy to give up mentally or be like, you know what, I should just get a job. I've looked for a job before, but then I realize I can't. I'm pretty sure I can't work for someone else. You know, I can work with someone else. I'm a great collaborator. I'm just not sure that is ever going to satisfy me.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
not the lane that you work best in.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids?
Correct.
Right? They're young.
6, 4, and 2.
You guys are constantly always starting something, doing something. I think you have some houses that you work on, and I think some are out of state, right?
Yes.
In New Mexico area, I think.
Yeah.
How do you and your husband balance work and family life with 3 young children?
I mean, not always well, but I think that, we have a short-term rental here in Midland that has been hugely successful. We haven't had to worry about it being occupied almost at all. And that was our first venture into short-term rentals. That, you taking kids over there, initially we were cleaning it ourselves, so I'm changing a diaper of a brand new baby while trying to clean it and make sure that no one stole anything or broke anything. And then more recently we bought a much more ambitious project in New Mexico that's a 4,000 square foot, 5-bedroom game room property that we also went undertook a large renovation that initially we thought it would be fine for us to not be on site regularly and that the contractors would stay in touch, which they did. But it was very helpful when we essentially just decided to split time and you take a child, I'll take 2 children, we'll swap back and forth, we'll spend time together. So a lot of the summer was time apart, just managing that project and figuring out, where we needed to stop with the renovation because, once you have people who have bookings, you can't go in and try and do the construction. Sure. And the Taos community is very manana, as one of our contractors and someone who did a mural in our house had said, it's hard to know, like, they're all going to be there. Like, we'd seen the contractor team go from 12 people to like 4. Like, where are these people? Oh, they're picking garlic. Oh, okay. So, had to learn a lot of patience in that project. And yeah.
Are you, or would you say that you're a DIY girl, right? You just want to do it yourself?
I
could see you holding a child and painting.
Oh, no, for sure I did that.
Time.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I was very crafty before children in college and then got rid of a lot of the stuff. And then you have to buy all the stuff. And then once you have all the kids, then the kids are, strewing paint around your house. So I definitely painted a large part of that house. And, we were trying, because my husband's also super handy. Like, I'm not sure how we could do a lot of the stuff without his capability. And, he can do carpentry, he can weld. But we had to decide, like, who's going to work on the house today and who's going to take the kids to the children's museum so that we don't all go crazy or they don't destroy something. So, yeah, I contributed to some of that stuff, but I also see the value of check equity.
It's true. What's community involvement volunteering look like for you? Are you guys as a family volunteering somewhere, plugging in somewhere? Are you doing it as your entrepreneurship, maybe some of your businesses? What does community engagement look like?
So most of the businesses that I've started are largely focused on community need or like seeing a gap in the market or solving a problem. So like I started a farmer's market. They're all kind of community-centric things. So I see a lot of what I do, because I don't necessarily get paid for a lot of the things that I do, or I don't necessarily make money. Sometimes I lose it, even in the for-profit endeavors. So, but those are about creating something that people asked for or they need. And with Midland AF, I've been surprised how many people who don't know who I am. I didn't tell anyone who I was for like the first 2 years of that, that reached out to say, how do I make friends here? And that is true, especially if you're not in oil and gas or you're a spouse of someone in oil and gas and you don't want to just be wined and dined and do the same stuff all the time. So we tried to create those types of events that would bring people together on an equal footing. I had done a lot of dog rescue efforts in the Houston area prior to having children. That's a little harder now because you don't know the dog. And I would like to partner with more nonprofits locally in order to kind of amplify their mission. And now that my oldest is 6, I really want to start doing volunteer things with him. So like Sibley Nature Center, you can go tend to the bees. We haven't done it yet, but I'd like to do that and have them see that. And then obviously I spend a lot of time on the art crawl and make no money. So
And make no money on that. Thank you for your time. I want to wrap things up here with just a couple questions. So we've been sitting here having a conversation, and I'm a big advocate for we allow who we let to listen and to speak into our lives. I'm very guarded sometimes on that. I don't know if you are. I want to hear you address that. Who pours into you? Who do you allow to speak to you?
I mean, I would say my family, coming here, my kids are like, you look beautiful. Like, just, I think sometimes when you're rushing around, your kids are saying lots of stuff, like letting that soak in, because they're little people, but they're also completely pure, that they're some of the best voices to listen to. I'd say that my family's very supportive. Sometimes they're frustrated because, like my husband or my mom, because sometimes you hear the same thing from someone else and they're like, I told you that. But sometimes you have to hear it from someone else that doesn't see you 24 hours a day, and maybe they can just offer a different perception. I have mentors that I'm lucky to have, so I still talk to my boss in Belgium, or the CEO, his father, from time to time, and then I have Dr. Ryan Peckham, who I talk to on a regular basis, that I met when I was going through the Entrepreneurial Challenge a couple years ago. And yeah, I mean, I've been lucky. There's lots of other people in town that I've met, and I've just been surprised that they're willing to sit down with me and say, yeah, let's see what you're doing. So I think that that's being sensitive to people who are interested in what you're doing and actually want to help you is a takeaway that I would give to anyone, is like, why are they interested? Because apparently they either share your philosophy or they like what you're doing and want to contribute to that. So
That's a good word. Thank you for that.
yeah.
What do you want to be known for?
I think I want to be known for innovating or being the springboard to somebody's future they didn't know they could have. So like when we had the farmers market, I loved seeing people come with this energy every single week. They got immediate feedback, and see those people grow from having a booth to having a brick and mortar to having a e-commerce business. The art crawl, seeing people who are, we had a very young artist who's like 14 and didn't think that he was qualified to be part of the art crawl. And something for me that was important was that who decides you're an artist? You don't have to be 18. And art's subjective. So really anyone for us is welcome to become a member and to learn from that community and to learn from the quarterly crawls and to see the feedback you're getting and what people like to kind of shape their path. And the same for, Midland AF. Like, what do people like that you're doing? How are you differentiating yourself from some other experience in town? And seeing how, us showcasing businesses impacts their future.
I appreciate your time. I applaud you from launching the farmers market all the way to the art crawl and everything in between. I think you're doing great. Keep it up. Midland needs people like you to bring new, fresh ideas, so I appreciate that. So thank you. Stacy Livingston, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms. Check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, and recently added to iHeartRadio. Thanks again to Chris over on the controls, Second Story, for the great studio. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.